Taking a look at the practice paper from P5 from Maha Bodhi School. Without further ado, let's get started on our first question for today, taking a look at question 1 of the grammar MCQ. Okay, now first question we see, mother blank cookies all morning for the charity drive. So in this case here, mother blank all morning gives us a clue or hint towards the blank over here. Since she has been carrying out this activity all morning, we're looking at the continuous tense. All morning is known as a frequency distractor. What is a frequency distractor over here? It provides additional information that changes or alters the meaning of the sentence along a certain time scale. So all morning over here indicates that she has been baking the cookies throughout the entire morning. So let's take a look among the 4 options over here. For continuous tense, we can safely strike out options 1 and 2. Options 1 and 2 are in the present perfect tense. Okay. How about options 3 and 4 over here? Which one should be the correct answer that fits in the blank? While looking at continuous tense, we also look at the subject of the sentence over here, mother, right? Mother is singular, just one person here. So by subject-verb agreement, it also tells us that we're looking at the singular. Okay, so for singular, we have either has or have for plural. So that would be option 3. Any questions for the first question? Alright, on to question 2. Question 2 looks at a tag question, right? This can be pretty tricky, so take a note of it. How do you answer this question? Firstly, you have the main statement. From the first part over here, this is your main statement, followed by a question tag that comes after. Okay. What goes into the question tag? Okay, Wilson has the answer up, but let's see if that is the case, okay? Question tag has 2 components. Firstly, you have a verb followed by a subject. What do I mean by subject over here? Subject refers to the main character of the statement. In the statement over here, the main character is Pat. Pat is the one carrying out the action over here, right? So the subject here will either be Pat or a pronoun that correlates to Pat over here. How about the verb? Okay, the verb we're looking at is will travel, will over here. Okay, 2 rules you need to take note of. First rule, it must be in the same tense. Okay, so will travel is the future tense, right? So will, future tense. Second rule to follow, it must be the opposite action. What I mean by opposite action over here, I mean positive versus negative. For example, we see will travel. Will is positive or negative? You will do it Is this a positive action or a negative action? Will is the positive. Okay. So you need to strike out the opposite over here, which is the negative of will is will not. Yes? Anyone that is unclear or don't understand how we reach this step over here? So we need to stick with our opposite action over here, which is will not. Looking at our options over here, will is not correct because it is still the same action. Would over here is in the wrong tense, right? It's the past tense. So over here, won't is the contraction of will not, which gives us the answer. Okay, so option 2 is the correct answer for this. Of course, it's very easy to get this answer wrong if these questions are pretty difficult. But you can see if we go through this very methodical, step-by-step process, we can arrive at our answer. Question 3. Neither Peter nor his classmates blanked the project that was due yesterday. Okay, I think this is a pretty common question. So let's turn it over to the floor. Which answer do you think it is over here? Okay, firstly, we have Wilson coming in with past tense. It should be due yesterday. It was due yesterday, but they did not complete it, so it should be past tense. Okay, yes. So we can eliminate options 3, options 4. Good. Okay, so between options 1 and 2, which should it be and why? Why do we choose 1 or why should we choose 2? In this case here, when you have neither or nor questions, you have a question that follows neither nor. Okay, or even either or, right? Either variation of this. Both of them should follow the nearest rule. Okay, what is the nearest rule over here? Whichever subject is nearest to the blank over here, whichever subject is nearest, that subject is the one you take reference from. In this case, is Peter or his classmates nearer to the blank? His classmates, right? His classmates is nearer to the blank over here. And classmates, by subject-verb agreement, we can tell it is a plural. Okay, so we use option 2, have completed. Okay, so well done, Wilson, for getting the right answer. For the others as well, also I hope you have managed to get the right answer along the same train of thought. Question 4. Question 4 looks at phrasal verbs. Okay, so this can be pretty tricky. Phrasal verbs, Harry is going blank a difficult time and needs our help. Okay. It would be to go through. To go through over here is to experience or to undergo a difficult time. To go over is to review, right? After you receive back your homework, you have to go over your mistakes and to do corrections. Okay? So to go over is to review. Right? Question 5. Larry will join us for the movie blank. He has to attend his enrichment class. Okay, so this is a conditional question. Here you need a conjunction over here that indicates that Larry will join us for the movie, except if he has to attend his enrichment class. So which conjunction among these four should be used over here to indicate there's an exception over here? We have Larry joining us for the movie. This is the rule. He will join us for the movie in most cases, except for the case where he has to attend his enrichment class. So which conjunction should we use over here to introduce an exception to the rule? That would be option 3, unless he has to attend his enrichment class. Any questions? On to question 6. While Ali was admiring the scenery, a pickpocket blanked his wallet. Okay. While Ali was admiring the scenery, a pickpocket blanked his wallet. Here, we see two actions taking place at the same time, right? While is used to indicate two actions happening at the same time. So if these two actions are taking place at the same time, it means that they should be in the same tense. Does that make sense to everyone? If there are two actions happening at the same time, they should be at the same tense. They both happening at the same time, not one that happened before the other, right? So let's go back over here. In the first action over here, was admiring is in the past continuous tense, right? So that tells us that this answer over here should also be in the simple past tense. Okay. With this idea in mind, let's take a look at our 4 options over here. The only one that is in the simple past tense is option 1. Okay, a pickpocket stole his wallet. Any questions? Question 7. This teacher is asking, do you give any tuition? Yes, we do give tuition. Take a look at the banner at the top of our live stream over here. If you want any more information about our tuition classes and schedule, you can WhatsApp the number on the screen. Alternatively, also you can check out our bio where you can get access to our schedule and available programs. Okay. We cover a range from secondary school all the way. We're working out of the tuition center, so we do not carry out private tuition at individual locations or places. Nonetheless, we have over 11 centers all across the island, all the way from north, south, east, west, central. We have many new centers across the entire island, so you can take a look at whichever writers at work is in your area, whichever is most convenient. All of our centers are located very conveniently along major intersections and train stations as well, so it's very convenient to travel over as well. Okay. So you can take a look at our website to find out more about the information. Yep. Question 7. I take my vitamins daily to prevent myself from blank a cold. Okay. In this case here, you're taking vitamins daily to prevent yourself from catching a cold. Okay. So this is a word form question. From catching a cold. Question 8. J was in the laboratory when he saw his classmate blank the beaker. Okay. J was in the laboratory when he saw his classmate blank the beaker over here. Looking at the tenses in the question, we see was, we see saw. So should this be in the past tense? Right? It seems like all the verbs before it all are also in the past tense. So this should also be in the past tense, right? Is that true? Not quite, alright? If we take a closer look over here, we can see that saw is what is known as a verb of perception. Okay, sounds like a pretty scary word, right? Verb of perception. What does this mean? It looks pretty scary, but it's actually a very simple word. It just relates to verbs that are related to your 5 senses. Okay? Your sense of sight, sense of hearing, sense of taste, sense of touch, sense of smell. Okay? In this case here, saw relates to your sense of sight, right? So how does that affect the rest of the sentence? If you have a verb of perception, the verb that comes after it is in the base form. When you see a verb of perception, the one that comes after it is in the base form. So break, the base form of break is option 1. Okay, so be careful of this over here. This question tends to show up quite commonly, but don't get distracted by the other verb tenses in the question over here. Zoom in on the verb of perception and get your base form over here. Okay, so pay attention to questions like this. Question 9. Mary's close group of friends blank for her at the courtyard just now. Okay. Firstly, we have just now. Just now tells us that does this waiting take place in the present or the past? Okay. Just now tells us it's in the past continuous tense. Okay. So that is for tenses. How about subject? Are we looking at the plural or the singular subject? We see Mary's group of friends, right? Friends with an S behind it, so it's plural. Do you agree that it should be plural? Alright, be careful over here, right? The group of friends, we see group over here. Group as the collective noun, right? A group of friends. Okay. So use the collective noun as a reference. It is singular. So we're looking for an answer that is in the singular for the subject in the past continuous tense. Which of these 4 matches both criteria over here? Okay, that would leave you only with option 3. Was waiting. Any questions? Alright, on to our final grammar question. Peter did not have blank homework today. He only had to finish 1 piece of math homework. Okay, so this is a pretty common question. Pretty common style of question, so take note of this. This is a quantifier question. A quantifier question is used to describe the amount of something in the question over here, the amount of the subject. In this case here, this subject over here is homework. Now, homework over here is a collective noun, right? It refers to a general group of assignments, worksheets that you have to do at home. Okay, so because it is a collective noun, it is read as uncountable. It is uncountable. Right? You don't count out homework individually. You don't count one homework, two homeworks, three homeworks, right? So with that, let's take a look at the four options over here. Any can be used for both countable and uncountable. However, does Peter not have any homework at all? That's not true, right? He only had to finish one piece of math. He still had one piece. So this is not correct. This is wrong meaning of the sentence over here. Little, much, and many. Many is used for countable nouns. For example, I have many friends in school. That is a countable noun. Little and much are both used for uncountable amounts. There's much time left or there's little time left to carry out or finish a task. Okay. So which of little or much should be used over here in terms of amount or degree of amount? We're looking at Peter only having one piece of math worksheet to complete. So that means that Peter did not have much homework to do at all, right? He had a very small amount of homework to complete. So he did not have much to do. Right, any questions? Okay, so that brings us to the end of our grammar section. Moving on to vocab. Okay, depending on your familiarity with the language, some might find vocab to be easier, others might find vocab to be harder than grammar. Okay, but let's take a look at vocab section. For your vocab MCQ, just like grammar, you will have 10 marks in total. Okay. And just like grammar, you will also have fill in the blank questions. For a total of 5 marks. Now, hang on, if you are doing a bit of math, you realize that if fill in the blank question only consists of 5 marks, where do the other 5 marks come from? Okay, the rest of the marks are allocated to substitution questions. Substitution questions are questions where you need to replace a word or replace a phrase in the question. Okay, so there'll be an additional 5 marks. But enough of me of explaining, let's go through the questions together. First question. The basketball finals had to be blank to a later date due to the storm. Okay. Had to be blank to a later date due to the storm. So this has the idea of to be postponed or to be delayed. We are presented with 4 options that are all phrasal verbs. What are phrasal verbs? Phrasal verbs are a short sequence of words or phrases that are meant to be read together as a single action. Okay. Which one should we use over here? In this case here, you should be looking at option 2 to put off. Okay. Firstly, to put up, the first one is to tolerate or to build something. For example, you're putting up with the noise or the commotion, you're tolerating the noise. Or to build, right, we put up a display or a signboard advertising a sale. Okay. Option 2, to put off, just like I've explained the blank over here, to put off is to delay to a later date. For example, if you will have homework to do but you're procrastinating, you're putting off your work in the interest of doing things that you prefer to do. Okay? So to delay is to put off. To put out is a pretty specific usage over here. Put out is to extinguish a fire, right? We put out the fire. And finally, putting away. To put something away is to keep something away. For example, at the start of an exam or a test, the teacher might tell you, put away your other materials, put away your notes. Okay, keep something away. Okay, so these are all 4 phrasal verbs that are explained for this sentence over here. The one that best matches it would be option 2, put off. Any questions? Okay, question 12. Science fiction and mystery are some book blank that you can borrow from the library. Okay, we have 4 words over here. Which of these is best used to describe book types? Okay, so this can be a bit tricky for some of us that don't often come across this usage of the word. But a genre refers to a style, a particular art style with certain or particular characteristics. For example, if you're reading science fiction, you can expect to see technology, expect to see aliens, you can expect to see spaceships and rockets, machines, robots. On the other hand, if mystery, you expect to see a detective, maybe even a culprit or even a victim, right? So a mystery. Question 13. Within seconds of the explosion, the wooden hut was blank in flames. Okay, so this one is pretty tricky over here. Take a minute just to read through the options. Let me flag it up. Which option over here should be used? Once you think of the answer, you can drop them in the chat. So I see some answers coming in. To engulf is to surround completely. While to submerge something is to put something underwater. So the answer over here looking at should be option 2, to engulf. The fire, the wooden hut was completely surrounded by in flames. Question 14. Even the doctors were surprised at David's sudden blank of fever and could not find the cause. Okay. Even the doctors were surprised at David's sudden blank of fever and could not find the cause. Okay, we have all 4 words over here, all relating medical terminology. It can be a bit tricky, so let me go through them each one by one. Starting off with our first option, onset. When someone has a sudden onset of a disease, a sudden onset of an illness or a condition, means that someone beginning of something that is unpleasant. The onset of something is the beginning of something unpleasant. How about outlook? Outlook refers to a general idea of a likelihood, a likely future. For example, if the sky is really clear today, the outlook is that there won't be any rain in the afternoon. Okay, so an outlook is the likely future. How about a diagnosis? What is a diagnosis? A diagnosis is a medical judgment or an opinion usually delivered by a doctor or a medical professional. For example, if you're diagnosed with the flu, you need to go home to rest for a few days. A medical judgment or an opinion. And finally, occurrence. Occurrence, a word that is commonly misspelled, is something that happens, a happening. Okay. So with these 4 definitions in mind, which best captures the idea of David's sudden start of a fever, even unable to find a cause? The closest match would be option 1, the sudden beginning or sudden onset of David's fever. Finally, question 15. Justin is blank. I wish he would stop harassing me. Okay. What we have over here are 4 different idioms. Idioms are sort of similar to common sayings that are meant to be taken figuratively. For example, a piece of cake does not refer to a literal slice of cake, but rather when you say this piece of homework was a piece of cake, what does that mean? That means something that was very easy to do. To do. On the other hand, we have a thorn in my flesh. What does a thorn in my flesh mean? Think about it. If you were gripping onto a stem of the rose and you get a thorn or a splinter, how would you feel? You would feel perhaps quite annoyed, right? So something that repeatedly annoys or cause pain to. Next, we have the apple of my eye. What do you mean when you say someone is the apple of my eye? Okay. The apple of your eye is someone who you love the most, object of your love and affection. Affection and could even say admiration, yeah? And finally, to blow your own trumpet. What does it mean when you say someone is blowing their own trumpet? To be blowing your own trumpet is to be boastful. To boast about your own achievements in a way that makes you appear too proud of yourself. Okay, so that means that is to blow your own trumpet. With that, which of these four idioms over here best seem to describe Justin in this sentence? I wish you would stop harassing me. Okay, to harass, that means to disturb, to cause stress too. So that means Justin is harassing me in this sentence over here. He's causing me stress, he's causing me pain. Which of these four idioms has the idea of someone causing distress or pain? That would be option 2, a thorn in my flesh. Anyone that's unsure or doesn't understand why we use option 2 here? Alright, so that is it for our vocab MCQ for now. Any questions? Any questions from the chat regarding any of the 5 options we discussed so far? Alright, along the way, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to drop them or to ask about them in the chat, alright? Right, on to questions 16 to 20. Questions 16 to 20 fall under the substitution style of questions. You'll be given a short passage and you'll be asked to replace the words in the passage. In this passage over here, COVID-19 has changed life for people everywhere. People adjusted their new norms like social distancing, routine temperature checks, and washing their hands more. Businesses around the world face big changes too. A few companies around the world took their response to the virus in an unexpected direction. These companies then decided to manufacture goods or equipment that can help the fight against COVID-19. LVMH is the biggest luxury company in the world. Back then, when the French government warned the public that hospitals in Paris could face hand sanitizer shortages, LVMH converted their perfume production lines to produce hand sanitizer. Show a short passage over here talking about how different industries have responded to the COVID pandemic. Starting off with question 16, right? People adjusted. Looking to replace the word adjust. Which of these four words over here has the meaning of adjusting to new situations, to new norms like social distancing? Okay, that could lead us to option 2, to adapt to changes, in the environment. Okay, to alter or to modify is to change or improve. An existing product or solution. Okay, question 17. Routine temperature checks and washing their hands more. Can you look at the word routine to replace over here? Routine, we have usual, regular, ordinary, and standard, all pretty similar in meaning, or at least have different shades of meaning over here. Which one best suits the idea of routine? Something as a routine is something that you do as a schedule, as part of a schedule, something that you carry out with a certain clockwork schedule, right? So that seems to fit the idea of regular, right? So that would be regular checks, for regular temperature checks and washing their hands. A few companies around the world took their response in an unexpected direction. Unexpected. We look at questions 18. We have 4 blanks over here. You cannot see the options. You can close the chat briefly just to see the options at the bottom of the screen. Okay, unexpected, without expectation of, without preparation, it is to be unanticipated. To be unprepared or to be unanticipated. Question 19. That can help the fight against COVID-19, to help, to provide support, to lend a helping hand too. We have options 8, save, promote, or to maintain over here, which carries the idea of helping the fight. To help the fight is to provide aid. To provide aid to support the fight against COVID-19. And finally, question 20. Back then, when the French government warned the public that hospitals in Paris could face hand sanitizer shortages, to issue a warning, it is to warn with a certain sense of urgency over here. That would be option 1, to alert, to warn, to inform, with a sense of urgency. Any questions? Okay, so take a minute just to review what we have discussed so far as part of our vocab close in this section. Okay. If there are any lingering questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, if you're ready, you can proceed on to the grammar close portion of the examination. Okay. Moving on. Look at our grammar close over here. This grammar close talks about the wildlife trade. Starting off, while South America blank the largest rainforest in the world, known as the Amazon, our part of the world is also home blank a similar habitat. Okay. First one, we have South America as the subject. So this is a question on subject-verb agreement over here. South America is a single continent. That means that it is singular. Not to mention, over here the blank carries the verb of containing the largest rainforest in the world, to be in the possession of the largest rainforest of the world. So which option should be in question 29? Which option should be in this? That would be option F. For South America has the largest rainforest in the world. Known as the Amazon, our part of the world is also home blank a similar habitat. So this is a preposition they are commonly used together for collocation, words that go together. Our part of the world also has a similar habitat. If we have a similar habitat, we are home to. Right? A similar habitat. In fact, the forest of Malaya has something even the Amazon blank not. The Amazon, again, subject-verb agreement. This is Amazon as singular rainforest, treated as an uncountable noun. Even the Amazon does not. Okay, option C. Around the world, about 97% of the world's tigers were lost during the last century. 4 out of 9 species of tigers blank now extinct. Important clues over here. Now gives us a certain sense of time scale. This should be in the present tense. Yeah. Not to mention, we look at 4 out of 9 species here. 4 species are now extinct. Okay, so 4 species are plural, right? More than one species, you have multiple. So we're looking over here for a verb that is in the present tense that points to the plural subject over here. Which verb would that be? 4 out of 9 species of tigers are now extinct. This is mainly due to a loss of habitat or poaching. There are fewer blank 150 Malayan tigers left in the wild. Fewer blank over here. If you look at a comparative over here, right? The comparative in question is fewer. Okay, this is what is known as a comparative, to compare between two measurements. So it should be followed up with the preposition to be fewer than. Okay, option N for comparatives. There are fewer than 150 million tigers left in the wild. They are considered close to extinction, blank, critically endangered. Close to extinction, critically endangered, these are interchangeable names or labels, right? Interchangeable, it doesn't matter which label you use. Okay, so looking at the interchangeable labels over here, you'll be looking at option, the conjunction option J. Okay? Or, oh, sorry, not J, sorry, L, my bad. Option L, close to extinction or critically endangered. Unless forest habitats are protected, deforestation stops, the Malayan tigers will become extinct. So this will be option Q. Okay. They will become extinct. Ignore this for the time being. Unless will become extinct. Okay, so this is the future tense. Sooner rather than later. Presently, the illegal trading of tiger parts is the most crucial factor affecting the survival of the Malayan tiger. Even though poaching is illegal, it blank still ongoing, as there is a high demand blank tiger parts. Okay. First one, poaching is illegal, it blank still ongoing. It, what does it refer to over here? It refers to poaching, right? Even though poaching is legal, poaching blank still ongoing. Okay. And as you can see over here, poaching is referred to in the singular. Okay, we are describing an action, it's in the singular, so they should also be in the singular as well. There is option G, is. Okay. It is still ongoing. It is still ongoing, as there is a high demand blank tiger parts. This preposition preposition usage, how do you go about answering it? The collocation for demand. People ask for something, they demand for something. There's option D. If you can see the screen high above. a high demand for tiger parts. One main challenge in the conservation of tigers is that wild tigers are not all found blank in just one place. Instead, they are scattered all over a large area of forest. Okay. So this is a preposition question. They are not all found blank one place. Which preposition should be going into this blank? There would be option G, H4, in just one place. Instead, they are scattered all over a large area of forest. Okay, any questions? Okay, we'll move on to our editing passage for last. For your editing passage, there are 2 points to take note of. Editing. You will encounter 2 styles of questions. The first style are spelling mistakes. Okay. Spelling mistakes such as maybe duplicate consonants in the middle of a sentence, maybe the wrong vowels are being used to spell out the words. Okay. Vowels, consonants, etc. Consonants, maybe even silent letters, right? Those that you don't pronounce out. On the other hand, you have grammar. Okay, grammar includes everything we've covered up to this point so far. Looking at either word form, tense, whether it's the past, present tense, whether it's the continuous tense. Looking at even word form, tense, subject, verb agreement, right? They use a singular for a plural verb subject, use a plural for a singular subject. And even the case of quantifiers. And prepositions. Okay. This list is not exhaustive, but these are some of the more common grammar mistakes found in editing passages. But of course, anything that falls under the umbrella of grammar, it is fair game to be tested. Let's take a look at our questions for grammar. Firstly, in our first paragraph, Cassie and Annie are best friends. 2 of them are inseparable. In class, they sat side by side. They went for recess together and even went out together in weekends. Many thought that they were real sisters. So this is a preposition grammar question here. What should the correct preposition usage be over here? Instead of in, it should be on weekends. Many thought that they were real sisters. 5 years ago, when Cassie was in primary 2, Annie was the new girl who had just transferred to the school in the second half of the year. Okay, this is a spelling mistake. Transfer is spelled with a double R in the middle. Okay, so T-R-A-N-S-F-E-R. Up to this point, no issue. In the past tense, we look at another R-E-D that comes after. Okay, so you have to be careful of this misspelling. Okay. transferred to the school in the second half of the year. Cassie's family had been living in New Zealand since 2017, despite of her mother's job. Look at the conjunction over here. Conjunction that introduces a reason. Okay. So which conjunction is used to introduce a reason? This would be because of her mother's job. Question 42. They had only recently moved back from Singapore 4 months ago. So this is yet another preposition question. If you're traveling from somewhere to somewhere else, right? To your destination. So move back to Singapore 4 months ago. Cassie's form teacher had placed her in charge of introduce Annie to her classmates. So this is a word form error over here. In a noun, taking a verb as a noun, it should always be in the continuous tense. Okay, so introducing Annie to her classmates. Initially, Annie was very quiet. Cassie would always try to begin a conversation. Conversation is a spelling error over here. How do you spell conversation? Conversation is spelled with a C-O-N-V-E-R-S-A-T-I-O-N. Okay, conversation. However, Annie could not be separated from her books. How do you spell separated? This is a spelling mistake with a vowel misspelling over here. To be separated, you have S-E-P-A-R-A. Okay, take note of the misspelling over here. She is P-A-R-A-T-E-D. Separated from her books. Cassie found Annie's accent very strange. It took some time for her to get used to it. The moment Annie got used to her new environment, she managed to find her own friends and Cassie did not have. Okay, so environment over here, it is misspelling on pronunciation. There are some silent letters that we miss out when we pronounce it. So environment, E-N-V-I-R-O-N MENT. Environment. She managed to find her own friends, and Cassie did not have to accompany her anymore. To accompany now, AOOC. So it's spelling mistake. Twice over. OM. PANY. To accompany her anymore. To the end, the following year, both girls ended up in the same class again. They started to getting to know each other better. So this is a grammar mistake over here. Why? You see two over here, right? At the end of the sentence that comes before it. At the end of the sentence that comes before it, you see two. So whatever follows after must be in the base form. So the base form of getting is get to know each other better. Both realized they had similar interest. Similar interest. So just one M in the middle. As a result, they choose to remain friends till today. Their friendship remains strong. Okay? Choose over here is a tense mistake. Right? They realized, both tell us that this should be in the context clue of being in the past tense. So the past tense of choose is chose. Okay, just a single O in the middle. Any questions? Right, if no questions, that brings us to the end of our reading editing passage over here, as well as our practice paper for today. But for viewers who join in slightly later on the live stream, they managed to catch the first part of today's paper. Let me just go through what we covered earlier on today. In our grammar MCQ section, we talked about the use of the frequency distractor to inform the verb choice over here in both singular as well as continuous, present continuous tense. Okay. Question 2. Question 2 was slightly difficult. We took a look at question text. To answer a question text, you need a subject refers to pet over here, no issue. Followed with the verb that takes the same tense over here, future tense of will travel. Will travel here, same tense. However, the opposite action, if will is the positive, the opposite of that should be the negative, will not travel. And that leads us to option 2, won't. Won't being the contraction of will not. Question 3. Question 3, neither Peter nor his classmates, we followed the nearest rule. When using either neither nor or either or, you always follow by the nearest rule over here, which states that whether Peter or his classmates, the nearest subject to the blank is the one you take reference from for your subject-verb agreement. Okay, so since classmates over here, mates in the plural, we use the plural verb over here, have completed. Okay, and of course, because it was due yesterday, we stick with the past tense of complete, which is completed. Question 4 talks about phrasal verbs. Going blank, a difficult time. To go over is to review, while to go through is to experience or undergo an experience. Okay, so that's a phrasal verb of choice in question 4. And finally, question 5 talked about conditional sentences, right? The rule is that Larry will go with us to the movie, except in the exception where he has to attend his enrichment class. So you're looking for a conjunction over here that introduces an exception to the rule. That conjunction is unless. Unless is used to introduce an exception to a rule. Okay. Question 6. Question 6 was a question about tenses and conjunction use. While it's a conjunction used to indicate two actions happening at the same time, which means that they should be in the same tense. If this was admiring is in the past continuous tense, that means this blank should also be in the simple past tense, which leaves us with option 1, stole. Question 7, I take my vitamins daily to prevent myself from catching a cold. Catching over here is the word form choice for using a verb as a noun, catching a cold. Question 8 is pretty tricky. We see the rest of the verbs in this sentence are all in past tense, right? Was, saw, they're all in past tense. However, saw is a special category of verbs known as a verb of perception. Any verb that relates to your 5 senses, sense of sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. These are your verbs of perceptions. When you have a verb of perception, the one that follows right after it must be in the base form. Okay, so ignore everything that came before it. Just zoom in on the verb of perception. It should be a base form that comes right after, and that is break. Question 9. Mary's close group of friends blank for her at the courtyard just now. Just now indicates a certain timing. It should be in the past continuous tense, just now. Group of friends over here, some of you might get confused with friends as the plural to look at the subject. However, group serves as the collective noun. Okay? And the collective noun over here is singular, just one group of friends here. So just one singular group, that will be the singular verb of was waiting in the past tense. Past continuous tense, was waiting. And lastly, question 10. Looking at quantifiers over here, homework is a general collective noun for the homework issued to you to complete at home. So if it's a collective noun, it should take the uncountable form. Countable forms include many, which isn't the case over here, while any isn't used here as well because it does not fit in with the rest of the sentence. It changes the meaning of the sentence. So any is not correct. It is inaccurate. Stuck between uncountable quantifiers of little and much, the one that fits the idea of the sentence of not having a large amount of homework to complete is option 3, not having much homework today, as he only had to finish one piece of math worksheet. Any questions? Okay, right, so there are no questions. That brings us to the end of our noontime live stream, but stick around. We'll be taking a short break for lunch. In about an hour's time, we'll be continuing with a second set of practice papers. Okay, so take the next hour or so just to take some rest and get refreshed. If you haven't had eaten your lunch, please go ahead and have your lunch. We'll see all of you back for our afternoon live stream at around 2:30. Okay, thank you very much for joining in for this noontime live stream. Okay, bye-bye. See you all very soon. If anyone is interested, here were the questions we used for vocab just now. If anyone is interested, these are the notes we took down for the vocab section earlier. Okay. And if you want to find out more, please do not hesitate to click on our bio to find out more about the programs and other activities we have available. Thank you.